Today we're going to be making a Hercules Beetle out of Instamorph. To start things off, I weighed out about 5 ounces of Instamorph pellets. Not too much, but it should make for a pretty sizable bug. Instamorph is a thermoplastic that comes in these opaque white beads, but when you heat them up, typically by putting them in some boiling or near boiling water, they turn clear and become very malleable, like a clay or putty. So I'm just going to pour my pellets into a pot of water I have heating up on a hot plate off to the side and leave it in there for a minute or two to warm up. Now that they're ready, all the pellets have stuck together in a big mass and they're ready to be worked. First things first, I want to use my silicone mat and squeeze out any excess water that got trapped among the beads. Instamorph can get pretty warm from the water, but not hot enough to burn your skin. Speaking from experience, if you're going to burn your fingers doing this, it's most likely going to be from any boiling water that's still clinging to it, so make sure you shake that off. Just to get things going, I want to knead everything together until it forms a smooth, crystal clear blob. I'm just going to repeat the process of kneading it a bit, then placing it back in the water to warm it back up, then pulling it out and kneading it and pulling it again until the lumpy, grainy texture is smoothed out. I did this about 4 or 5 times, and now my Instamorph is right where I want it, smooth and clear as glass. From here, I want to start dividing it into separate pieces that I'll combine for the finished product. I'm just going to pinch off a little less than half of what we had to start with to make the main body of the Beetle. As I form the body, I'm just trying to consolidate any seams or wrinkles on the underside so I don't need to worry so much about blending them in or concealing them later on. I just want the nice, smooth exterior to be visible. We're not looking for anything pretty or precise at this stage. Right now, we just need some rough shapes. I'm going to call this good enough for the time being. But if I were to just set it down as is, it would basically just slowly ooze into a puddle. So to keep that from happening, I have a jar with some cold tap water that I'm going to dunk the body piece in a few times until it forms a skin. That way I can set it down and it will retain its shape until I'm ready to heat it back up and start refining it into its final form. Next, I'll start forming the larger portion of the head. I actually learned a few things about Hercules beetles while preparing for this project, and even though it looks like they have 2 massive jaws, turns out it's actually a pair of horns. The top horn actually curves down, and what looks like the bottom jaw is actually its head with another horn curving upwards. So when it looks like it's opening and closing its mouth, it's really just moving its head up and down. Again, we're not going for perfection just yet. So we're going to toss this piece into the water and let it set up too while we move on to the actual head piece. I want to leave a little extra plastic near the head just to make sure I have enough that I can push around and shape into eyes, antennae, and such later on. And we'll get that piece cooling as well. Now, as you can see here, since it spent a lot more time in the cold water, the top part of the head has reverted back to the opaque white color a lot faster than the body portion did at room temperature. So those are the pieces I'm going to focus on first, and with the rest I'm just going to separate a bit out to be the legs and a bit for the wings. But that's going to be a bit farther down the line, so I'm not even going to worry about shaping those out just yet. And my light battery died. There we go. I like to form anything that I'm not ready to use right away into flat discs because the thinner and flatter the Instamorph is, the faster it'll heat up again later. Anyway, if I left it as a thick blob, it would just take that much longer for the heat of the water to reach the center of the Instamorph and soften it all the way through. This piece here will become the wings. I think I'll probably want a bit more Instamorph to work with for the wings, so since I clearly overestimated on how much I was going to need for the head, I'm just going to pinch a little bit off of those and take that excess and add it to the wing material when I get to working on those later on. For now, we have some very rough pieces to get us started, but from these humble beginnings, we're going to make something pretty great. Stay tuned.